I've actually looked at it as a positive thing because it's fun to hike, fun to walk the dog when we had a dog, but it's a little scary
Runyon
now.
Canyon,
But I can see
Vista Street.
helicopters from my vantage point.
You can put it on TV, but I'm gonna be on here.
Hopefully they'll be able to save as many homes
it's
as
just
they
because I can stream from here like this.
The fire was kind of close to where we're at.
You see?
Maybe you guys can tell me how it looks for me.
Well,
I can't tell which side it's going towards.
On that and try to figure it out for you.
Oh my
where
gosh.
are you spending the night?
Hollywood Boulevard, right? Towards Hollywood Boulevard?
Right now, I'm just gonna hang out and see what happens.
Dude, Hollywood Boulevard's gonna go under flames.
Fortunately for us,
no, it's gonna. That's my guess.
The family and as soon as the kind of adrenaline goes down.
Hide. I told Giselle, I'm like, are your dogs okay?
Figure out where we're gonna be tonight.
She's like, yeah, they're good.
Benjamin, before we let you go, one last thing I need to ask, and that is, you saw that stellar water drop just as we did live here on NBC4.
And her dogs are in.
First thing that went through your mind when you saw that?
Dogs are somewhere else, so it's okay.
Yay! Hopefully it works.
You're a man of few words. Fantastic. Benjamin Vega there. We appreciate it, and we, of course, will stay in contact.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.
I appreciate
Thank you.
Guys.
Stay
Be
safe.
on top of it. Bye.
Stay
Good
safe.
luck out there.
All right, so we want to go now to NBC4's Julia Dang live in News Shopper 4. And Julia, we've seen some water drops. We see those fire units there in the neighborhoods. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Michael, we were talking about that earlier, wondering, how long is it going to take to get those aerial firefighting resources in place? At one point here, I counted a total of 8 helicopters, a lot of air traffic here. Among those 8, there were 3 from the LA City Fire Department, 1 from LA County Fire, and we just saw that water drop live. It looks to me in my pilot like they're making a bit of progress here. We're not seeing any homes threatened, but you did see officers, LAPD officers, going door to door earlier along Waddles Drive, making sure people got out. So we were also talking about people, lining up, driving out of this area, out of Nichols Canyon, and you can see, as I follow this trail of smoke now, you can see the traffic in the Hollywood area as people try and escape this. But at last check, this was coming in at 10 acres,
water.
0% containment.
Yeah, 0% containment.
All right, Julia, thank you. We have a programming update to share with you right now. NBC Nightly News will be available on Cozy TV beginning at 6:30 p.m. this evening. Julia, we're going to stay with your shot here. We're also going to continue our coverage of the wildfire emergency impacting our communities as the threat to your safety and homes remains out there. And as we've just discovered, new fires continue to grow. Again, our coverage will continue here. NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt will be available on Cozy TV.
All right, we want to now bring in Jonathan Gonzalez. He's live on our newsroom with more on the evacuations for all of these fires here in Southern California. Jonathan.
And Michael, Colleen, you come to me as people's phones behind me here in our newsroom are going off because of our proximity here at Universal City, where our station is, to this fire now burning just, the other side of the 101 really from us there in Runyon Canyon Park. And right now we can tell you that more than 80,000 people are under mandatory evacuation orders. This is across LA County. But with this new fire, this most recent order, we know that number is only going to rise. As you all have mentioned, mandatory evacuations are now in place for this new Sunset Fire. Those are between Laurel Canyon Boulevard to the west, Mulholland Drive to the north, the 101 freeway on the east, down to Hollywood Boulevard on the south.
All the famous stars, you know where the stars are? That's Hollywood Boulevard.
From Julia Dang's
it might go, boys and girls.
Very heavily impacted.
It might go. Say goodbye to the stars.
On a night where there's normal amounts of traffic, heavy traffic along Franklin and Hollywood on any given night.
Happens,
also, there's still no word on any evacuation centers open at this point for this new Sunset Fire. We also want to go to a map from CAL FIRE because we are still following closely the Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire in Altadena.
Water drops.
This is a map from CAL FIRE showing those different areas across the 3 other active fires under evacuation warnings and mandatory evacuations. You also have the Hearst Fire there to the north. north of your screen to the top there. In Palisades, more than 60,000 people now have been evacuated. That order is in effect for parts of the cities of including Calabasas, Malibu, Los Angeles, which includes parts of Pacific Palisades, and unincorporated area of LA County, Topanga. That stretches from Las Virgenes to just east of Mandeville Canyon Road. Now we want to show you the Eaton fire map. This fire has scorched at least 10,600 acres. According to CAL FIRE, the evacuation area there covers about 13.5 miles. That stretches from La Cañada, Flint Ridge, all the way east to Monrovia. It also includes the area north of Orange Grove and Rosemead Boulevard, west of Michelenda Avenue, and east of Lake Avenue, major thoroughfare there in Pasadena. And lastly, we want to show you that other fire, the smaller of the bunch here. This is the Hearst fire. This one has burned about 700 acres. We know mandatory evacuations are still in place for this fire.
What happened?
Area north of the 210 from Roxford to the 514 freeway split. Also part of the area south of the 5 and part of the Michael Antonovich Open Space
the rest of them,
there,
I mean, like Palisades is really close
those
too. That's like down the street
orders.
almost.
Keep in mind too, many of the roads in all of these evacuation
20 miles away.
zones do remain
but
closed.
Hollywood, we go there a
210
lot, dude. Used to film down there a lot.
Oxford, as well as Parts of the 5 and parts of the 210 again
down there
remain
with my
closed.
brother
In that area, about 3,000 people have now been evacuated thanks to the Hearst fire.
And one of the places we used to film at, one of the clubs, is currently where the fire.
Following the Sunset Fire, now burning just very close to us here from Universal City in the Hollywood Hills. People right now are actively trying to get out of that area. We saw Franklin, Colleen, and Michael very heavily impacted, as well as Hollywood Boulevard. Again, no evacuation center open at this point that we know of. We are working right now to figure out if there is one or there are plans to open one up as soon as possible. But we're talking, thousands of homes there in the Hollywood Hills now under evacuation orders. People trying to get down these narrow streets. Very similar situation, guys, to what we saw in the Palisades. Granted, the flames are not as dire with regards to their proximity as where they're trying to leave as it was in the Palisades, but still, it's a very, tough situation for these
two streams going on
as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we've been watching some of the first responders.
It's pretty close to the water, so
the heavy traffic out there, very, very problematic. All right, Jonathan, thank you for that. Now, big difference between last night and tonight, not only the weather conditions, but the fact that there are aerial assaults out there. We've been watching the water-dropping choppers on the Sunset Fire, and they seem to be making something of an impact here. Let's call in David Bigger right now.
They're making an
impact
on that.
Yeah, just a little bit of headway from the aerial assault. It's been helpful because part of the concern with this is the ember cast, obviously, with a little bit of the wind. We have gusts in about the 15 to 25 mile per hour range in the area. But also the other concern sometimes with fires is that you start to loosen and break down some of the fuels that might be holding back rocks, and you end up with maybe some boulders or some flaming debris kind of rolling down the hill sometimes. And so they've been attacking a lot of the ridge line, which has been beneficial, trying to keep it back and from jumping down the next into the next canyon. Back to you.
All right, David, thank you for that. We want to bring in now Margaret Stewart with LAFD. Margaret, are you with us? Hello, Margaret?
Can you hear me?
We got you. Yeah, thanks for being with us here tonight. Again, we now have the Sunset Fire to contend with here. What's the latest on this?
I cannot emphasize strongly enough the need for everyone to follow our immediate evacuation orders. And I will give the zone. To the east, it is the 101. To the north, it's Mulholland. To the west is Laurel Canyon. To the south is Hollywood Boulevard. And we are currently enacting a evacuation warning zone, which goes further west towards, towards Franklin Canyon. Sorry about that. So we have a mandatory evacuation in place. We know that's it's a very densely populated area. We're asking people do not delay. This is not the time to want to stay and protect your home. This is the time to get in your vehicle, grab your friend who doesn't have a vehicle. If you're up in a canyon, get out immediately, head south, get out of the area.
On this so far.
We don't have an update. The initial size up was 10 acres. We know it's far beyond that, but right now our focus is on the evacuation. Our helicopters are hitting it from the sky, trying to knock back some of the hot flanks. But as you know, the brush up in this canyon is very thick, and this fire is still wind-driven. We don't have the strength of winds that we faced last night, thankfully, but it's still a wind-driven fire, which means it's going to push down into Hollywood, and we need people to evacuate now.
Now, we noticed some of the water-dropping choppers, the aerial assault up here, seems to be making an impact. Can you speak to that at all?
They are our best weapon with these types of fires because we cannot go in and put this out on the ground, which is why it was so difficult for us last night. So as you can see, our helicopters are in. They're making drops. They're going to be the workhorses for this fire, trying to knock back the hot flanks and slow down the advance of the fire while we have crews in place defending structures.
Margaret, also we heard from a couple of residents up there, Benjamin Vega and our own Robert Kovacic, that they actually work with the fire department up there and practice for this sort of thing.
Absolutely. We have some really active community groups like that. They'll practice evacuations. They do good brush clearance. And this is the time.
Yeah, they're attacking this one. Yeah, there's like 3-4 helicopters attacking it right now.
It looks like you see some traffic now. That's a good sign right there. Those are folks along Camino Palmero Street that are now fleeing the neighborhood. Those are evacuees coming down Camino Palmero Street from left to right there towards Hollywood Boulevard. Those are all folks. That street dead ends. And those folks are now coming away from the fire. So folks are definitely heeding the warnings. They're getting word of this, and they're getting out fast.
Yeah, they're all leaving now. Like, fuck that. I'm not taking a chance on that, dude. I'm good. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm gonna be staying up all night, dude. Like, you don't know any. We could start any other way in that mountain. All that area over there. Yeah, I mean the planes are making some good progress. I see what they're doing now from here. I see what he's explaining. Like, they're protecting the side of the houses for now, like this side, so it doesn't spread, and then they're gonna attack the rest of it after. I don't know if it'll spread that much because they attacked that side pretty quickly. Good job, boys. They're getting it done, low-key. Shout out to the firefighters, though. Some of them pulled like 24-hour days, dude. That's insane. Alright, we got that. Where? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, hopefully, while they're putting this one, it doesn't like spread even farther out somewhere else. That's what we're watching, ABC7. Let's watch this one. This one's all of them, but I haven't checked up on the other ones in a sec. I've been on the Hollywood one. $20 acres?
I think it's a great idea. House sitters get somewhere to stay, and we, the house owners, get someone to look after.
Angeles area. Did want to show you some of these images and live looks that we have right here before we transition back into Fox LA's coverage of these wildfires. They've been doing a fantastic job staying on the air and ensuring that so many folks there in the Los Angeles area and as well in other parts of the country can be well informed about the dangers that are currently persisting there in Southern California. Let's check back in with our partners there at Fox LA.
So much on fire, apartments, houses burned down, just everywhere. Go ahead, Alex.
All right, Haley, thank you so much. I just want to bring in a guest now to address the issue you're talking about, which is looting. and this is the person who's going to be most responsible in sort of doling out the consequences for that. Joining us now live via Zoom is Nathan Hochman, the newly elected district attorney for Los Angeles County. Mr. Hochman, thanks for being with us. First, we feel for your sister. I know you were just out at your sister's property in Brentwood. Her house is a total loss, so we're sending love to her and to your family tonight, as you know how painful this is for folks. But before we get into that, if you could talk about this issue of looting and what we are now seeing in parts of LA County.
Going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, is this
so the reports of looting have been coming across both law enforcement and the DA's office. I want to send an unmistakably clear message to looters or anybody who thinks that they can prey on people who endured these tragedies. We are going to arrest you. We are going to prosecute you, and we are going to punish you to the full extent of the law. So again, it's the tragedies that are going on right now are occupying our first responders. The firefighters have done a magnificent job in responding. Law enforcement has basically called in everybody. Detectives have been putting on uniforms. They've called in help from outside this county, and they are responding in force. But again, there will always be people who look at this as an opportunity to cheat others, to steal from others, to scam others. And I want them to understand.
Can you hear me now?
That we will not be taking this.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
After you, we will make sure that you understand that this will not be tolerated.
Hey.
District Attorney, I'm sure you know that there have been 3 arrests for looting in the Eaton Fire area. We first got wind of that from LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. And then earlier in her remarks, the board chair of LA County Supervisors, Catherine Barger, she had a message. She said the full weight of the county will come down on you. That was her message to potential looters out there. She mentioned that she had already been in contact with you. So talk about the relationship, this newfound relationship that you have with the Board of Supervisors and how you're working to get this word out.
Obviously, we may be having a delay, or go ahead.
So we are working hand in glove with the Board of We're working hand in glove with the Board of Supervisors, with law enforcement.
We're obviously having some signal issues with Mr. Hochman's picture.
There should be no ambiguity whatsoever. We will.
Go ahead. I think we got you back.
Are you able to hear me at this point?
Yes. Go ahead.
Great. We'll make it. We are working hand in glove with all law enforcement, the County Board of Supervisors. Great. We are working hand in glove with the
District Attorney, if you can hear us, we really want to get your message out. So it would be best if you could
County Board.
If you could just call, if we can call you and we can get you on the phone so that we can clearly get your message broadcast to our viewers tonight.
Yeah, obviously there's all sorts of technical challenges all over the place, but we hope
to see how I can add an audio
to finish up this conversation, because it's an important conversation and we want to hear about your sister as well. In the meantime, as we get that figured out, let's go to Matthew Seedorf, our reporter who is on the ground in Pacific Palisades. It's now nighttime where you are. Talk about what you're seeing.
Yeah, we're by Castle Rock Beach. I know that the DA was talking about looters. We've seen police going by in big numbers as they're coming in and looking for those possible looters. That's one of their big concerns going into the night. But if you look up this hillside, we've been out here with the firefighters, and we have actually cell reception here, but just look at the flames. I mean, we've been out there with the firefighters actively fighting these fires for the last hour or so. They're still popping up and continuing to burn across homes. I want to see and look at what road we're looking at up there right now. Appears to be Porto Marino Way up there on the hillside. Lots of homes on fire, it appears, and we can see some emergency lights up there as this continues to go. And now if you can look down the hillside, it looks like just the homes are crumbling, and you can see burning embers all the way down the hillside. Another little piece of home just crumbled and fell down all the way down close. We have a little bit of flame here on the edge of PCH here, but unfortunately this is what we're continuing to see as the winds are continuing to blow and spreading more and more of these embers. More homes are catching on fire, and it's still going to be an intense night for people and their homes out here in Pacific Palisades. So I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Yo, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hey. I think that's better. Is it? Which side? Sunset? Oh, I see. Like coming down. Damn, it's coming down. I'm gonna find another stream because that one went on break. Which one? I don't know which one that is, low key. Oh, yeah. I know which one you're talking about. I haven't seen this one. Let's check this one out. Craziness.
Do you know what's really fun?
But they're doing a little better on this one. It's not getting. It's just spreading. It's spreading one direction kind of fast, like down where the houses are.
Smoke from the east, Altadena, the fire that we were over just a couple hours ago. Like we said,
yeah, I know.
Nobody in LA is untouched
Crazy.
by what is happening right now, and this is going to continue, even though one part of this fire now appears to be under control.
And it's incredible. What a relief, Colleen and Julia, to see that.
Yeah, it seems like they're getting it under control.
Their most precious tool that they couldn't use last night because of the severe winds. Julia, thank you. I think we're going to stay with your shot as we see yet another water drop there on the flank of the fire that's closest to the homes there. We believe our Conan Nolan is live now with a vantage point up above the fire. Conan, where exactly are you right now?
Yeah. You know how some parts are like not as lit, like raging? Is that where they already sprayed the water?
It's east of Laurel Canyon, which is problematic
Embers?
for those trying to make their way over the hill on Laurel Canyon.
Okay, never mind then.
This is one flank of the fire.
Well, that's the only reason I was saying it seems like they have it a little under control, but I guess not.
But of course,
it's literally the only reason I was saying that.
Vegetation, lots of manzanita shrub, not a lot of coverage. That is, not a lot of grown.
What's he doing?
Area, but
tell him to go live.
Making its way down the hill, of course.
Yeah, dude, he's not sleeping tonight either. Nate, are you in here? Yo, Nate, are you in here? You should go live. He's on here. He was commenting earlier. He said I can't hear you. That's why I want to know if you can hear me now.
Just to the just up solar, as we take a look here, a few more companies as they're concerned that this now is going to make its way down this ridge and make its way up to the homes where we're standing near along Solar.
Yeah, it's raging down there towards the bottom.
The fire makes its
yeah, it's gonna take a sec to put that one up.
Right. We mentioned that earlier. It preheats the vegetation.
Carson Ave.
So it's able to go uphill a lot faster than it is when it goes downhill.
It's still raging down there a bit.
That will, their strategy.
They're trying.
Frequently has been again, as we see a major response now. Just when we arrived here, there was nobody here.
Yeah,
now,
I get it, dude. Makes sense.
Engine company and a strike team, maybe 2 strike teams arriving in full force as they're going to engage in, no doubt,
it's just burning. You see, like towards the bottom where it says Waddles Garden Park, up and a little bit to the right. That's where it's burning. You can see it here. Right down here. See it?
With significant success, those flames will make their way down the canyon floor. There's nothing there. There's no structures to burn, but then they will make their way up where we're standing. And although
yeah, for sure it's closed. That must be a weird site, bro, in Hollywood.
Going to be helpful for them in
probably nothing there right now. No one, nothing.
that is very fortunate for them. But if it makes it down to this canyon, not only do the homes
The real one or the
below,
fake one?
Have a real difficult evening ahead for them, but also potentially the homes up here as well. If those flames
he has his own ranch.
Way up. Once again, as just a moment ago, we saw one LA City fire, actually 2 strike teams, I think, that were formed, making their way up to this neighborhood. Is it establishing a structure protection element to this? Possibly, but they're not at that point yet, I don't believe, because they still have high hopes that they can attack this flank of the fire to such a degree that they can get at it before it gets any close to the homes up here. The homes down below, that could be a different story. But
the homes down below seem like they might get burnt.
For the canyons here.
The ones on the side in the canyon seem like they're okay.
Not far from here, Echo in the Canyon. Remember, it's the famous worldwide for the fact it was the epicenter of the music scene, the West Coast sound, and so many music groups that and musicians that live there. Well, the echoes of the canyon currently right now are sirens from the fire department of LA City, as well as the snapping in the distance, as you can hear, of Manzanita, Scrub, California Pines, and others that are going up in flames in the hillsides overlooking Hollywood.
So you know this is live.
From your vantage point, how close does the fire appear to be to the closest home?
I'm going to turn the mic off.
Can you tell?
Could you repeat that, Colleen? You cut out.
I said, how close, from your vantage point, does it appear the flames are to the closest home?
Well, from where we're standing, they're not that close. I'm going to walk over. You can see the flame as we pull out. This is the closest house over to my right. So they're not in any kind of jeopardy right now, but they are updraft from one of the canyons here off Solar Drive, and that's going to be problematic if they can't get a hold of this flank of the fire and it makes its way into this canyon. Then it'll go up quickly. Again, I said that there is a lack of shrubbery here. That'll help, but that would be problematic. The big problem, I think, right now for them is and the airship pointed this out just a little while ago, those homes down below. Again, the fire is going slowly there, and yes, they're interested in, frequently the fire crews will let the fire come to them. They will let it burn out if they believe there's not a lot of propulsion, that is, that there's not a lot of wind, and they will wait for it to come to them, and then they will put a full effort to extinguish it before it gets into the neighborhood. And this is a case, though, that they are very concerned that they won't have a chance to do that if the wind picks up any more than it has. And so that's why they're going at my guess is they want to get at it now and not wait for it to get closer to homes, because with the winds that we've seen, there's no telling what would happen then. So and night, the air attack by night is relatively new. I mean, it's always was problematic in the past because of safety concerns, and so we've seen airdrops now, and it's obviously at night flying is a little more dicey, and of course in the wind, as we've seen, that adds a complication to it, the likes of which that makes this a very, very difficult firefight here in the Hollywood Hills, as we've seen in the Palisades and up at Eaton Canyon.
Conan, if you could, talk to us a little bit about the winds. We know you were at the Eaton fire earlier today. What's the wind situation as you're standing on the ridge up there right now?
It's not bad, Colleen. It's nothing like we saw 24 hours ago. So that's the blessing. There are occasional gusts, but again, the fact that the plume of smoke seems to be, it's a bit of a chimney. We have a slight breeze. It's doable. Let me put it that way. It is. Yeah. It gives the firefighters an opportunity, the likes of which they really didn't have last night, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing an effort from the air to get at this flank of the fire. Again, before it makes too much of an advance towards the homes down below and the homes up here. Right now, though, for the people here, if there is a wind velocity, it seems to be blowing it in the opposite direction. But of course, that can change.
You know, Conan, as we stay with your shot here, we want to read over a note from our colleague, Robert Kovacic, that the Bird Streets neighborhood of Los Angeles has just been evacuated. That's the one just off of Doheny and Sunset, which is actually west of Laurel Canyon, which is, you know, the western part of the mandatory evacuation orders for this new Sunset fire. And we do know there is an evacuation warning in place west of Laurel to Franklin Canyon for the same Sunset fire. So we're trying to get more information about the evacuations that are, again, now happening west of Laurel, because Laurel was the border of what we were told initially were the mandatory evacuations here for the Sunset. He's also reporting that the Outpost and Outpost Estates were just evacuated as well. So we're going to try to get confirmation on some of those reports as well.
And that would make sense, because when we were talking with Margaret Stewart from LAFD, she said the fire is burning in a westerly direction. Yep. So it is moving towards Laurel Canyon. If there is a feeling that they can't stop it at that point, it would make sense that there would be a warning ahead of that. Absolutely. To get people out of the area. Conan, are you seeing Runyon Canyon at all from your vantage point?
Hello, check.
Well, I know they've been evacuated. I'm not sure if I'm seeing it, quite frankly, because it's dark, Colleen. But I'm seeing fingers of it. There's no question about that. And yes, you mentioned the evacuation warning. When you get an evacuation warning, there's a 90% chance that will be followed up by an evacuation order.
If you get an evacuation warning, it pretty much means get the hell out.
That's what we've seen before. So for those folks on the other side of
especially with
Laurel
these,
Canyon,
they can't contain any of them.
The warning is be prepared, get your stuff ready, you don't have to go.
Fire's pretty close to some electrical
dollars
lines
to
right
donuts, you're going to get another one later. And it's not necessarily because the flames are really headed toward your neighborhood, because they might not be, but it's in the way it's been described to me, they err on the side of caution, and if they don't achieve supremacy over this fire at a certain point in terms of its proximity to what would be that line, which is Laurel Canyon, then they issue the evacuation order for the rest of the neighborhood. So my guess is that if you've got that alert on your phone, don't take it lightly, because you'll probably be followed up by a second alert saying it's time to leave. And Laurel Canyon, keep in mind, it's part of the beauty of the canyons and the Hollywood Hills, the beautiful vistas, the windy roads, just the bucolic neighborhoods of the mountains. But that's a real problem, of course, for a firefight, because these roads aren't large enough for an apparatus to make, for example, a U-turn. I don't know how many landing zones they may have, or areas where they may be able to achieve a water supply for an aerial drop, where they need to go for that. And it's these neighborhoods, just like the Oakland Hills, years ago, where they lost 600 homes. It's one of the reasons why these neighborhoods are so popular and wonderful to live in. It's the biggest downside, though, is the inability of fire units to make their way through these streets. If there are any cars in the way, that's a real problem. These are not wide boulevards, and snaking their way through these canyons is part of the job of the fire units that have been assigned to this region, this neighborhood. But it adds to a major complexity in dealing with the structure protection, getting people out, and addressing directly the flame as it makes its way up the canyon and some of these canyon walls towards the homes above. Right now, that doesn't appear to be happening where we are standing. You're looking at the fire. I believe that's the main flank of the fire. It can be seen for miles. I have people telling me from Beverly Hills and Santa Monica they can see it. But it's the wind, such that it seems to be blowing it away from our location.
Well, Jonathan and I are sitting here. We presume they might be doing that water draw from Lake Hollywood, because they've been making some quick turns in terms of the aerial assault here. Conan, you said you went in with strike teams. What are they up to right now? Are they working? Or are they waiting for this fire to come to them?
Well, you know what? First of all, you're right, Colleen. You're smart. That's probably where they're getting it from, Lake Hollywood.
Thank you, Colin.
There are a couple of reservoirs here, so I should.
I've been waiting a long time to hear that from you. Thank
you. You and I have been doing this a while, Colleen.
Yes, we have.
The strike team that we.
Tonight, the historic and catastrophic.
Dude, I have no idea. It's too far away from the other ones for it to be. That's why people are like, is this man-made? Like.
The best moments deserve the best eggs, especially when they're Eggland's Best. Tastes so deliciously fresh, with better nutrition too. We love our eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
And from Runyon Canyon out into La Brea and on Franklin over to Highland, because the issue is right now, as people are evacuating, there's not enough room for all these cars to go. You see it behind me going up the street here. That's why we got a couple police officers really just trying to direct traffic to get them to come down the street. We're standing safely in the street right now because no one is moving. And we turn around here, Will. This is Franklin right now, and you're looking right down La Brea with all the red lights. Those are people trying to get away from the fire as far away as possible. Now, keep in mind, just about 10 minutes ago when we spoke with you, we were physically on Franklin, maybe 4 or 5 blocks in that direction towards Highland. That was jam-packed going that direction as well. Folks here trying to get out really any way they can because of the evacuation. We see over and over again, check out behind me, guys with backpacks, with duffel bags, with suitcases. They're trying to get out of town. Some people, whether they're leaving hotels or leaving apartment buildings, are trying to leave. We spoke with you a second ago. Can I ask you a question? You were staying here, and you're leaving because of the fire?
Yeah, I mean, I live here. I've been here for 21 years, but yeah, it's time to get out, I think.
When you see the fires all in the other places, whether it's Pacific Palisades or Altadena, were you thinking, let me pack a bag now, or did that just come in the last couple hours?
It came in the last couple hours, yeah. Even though, you know, I've been waiting for Runyon. I've lived here 16 years in this place for finally have a fire, and I guess it finally happened.
When it comes to grabbing things, just essentials, personal items, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like passports and checkbook and mementos. I've got some of my mother's things she passed about a decade ago, and other toiletries, I guess, in case I got to stay somewhere.
When it comes to traffic getting out of here, have you kind of navigated how you're going to get out of here, seeing how busy it is?
No, I'm getting out here on foot. My car's right there, so there's no way I'm getting out of this anytime soon, I don't think.
So you're going to walk out of here and figure it out, even though the wind is kind of pushing it a little bit farther west?
Yeah, I was watching you guys on TV, the live stream, and I'm like, I feel all right, but people are going to be, people will be mad if I don't get out of here. I don't need people from back home getting mad at me for not getting out of here.
That's the smart move. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. You know, interesting point, too, because some of the folks we spoke to out here said, yeah, the wind isn't pushing the smoke in this direction. You know, we were in Altadena most of the afternoon, and it's obviously been really smoky. Here, it's not that bad. You do notice a breeze out here. That's one thing I did notice right when we got out of the car here, is there is a pretty steady breeze. It's not windy, but it's certainly breezy, adding fuel to those flames, and that's why I think a lot of these folks, especially after the images we've seen over the last 24, 36 hours, people here are realizing it's not worth it to stick around or to hang around a little bit extra to maybe make it if the fire goes in the other direction. So that's why we're seeing this. But as you guys mentioned, we're looking down La Brea. Right across here, the cross street is Franklin, but we did have LAPD show up a short time ago to try to help with the traffic a little bit, because you have a whole lot of people in these cars especially coming down from the Hollywood Hills trying to get as far away from this fire as possible, in addition to the folks who live in the many apartment buildings right here off of Franklin and Hollywood who are just too close for their own comfort and trying to get as far away from this fire as possible. Obviously, this is a developing situation with these cars moving. We're going to keep an eye as we see another police officer come up behind me to try to get the traffic flowing. The intersection behind me, and this is the problem, and I just want to leave on this note, because yes, there are a lot of cars. Yes, the roads are absolutely packed. This intersection is dumb because everyone is in the intersection, so no one can move. So the problem is everyone in every single direction is just jam-packed packed in the middle of the intersection, so no one's moving in any direction. There's no flow of traffic, and I think that's why the police just showed up a little while ago to try to get things moving. As we were coming up Franklin, the same thing was happening. No one can move in any direction if everyone's blocking at every intersection. It used to be one direction, then the next direction. At the moment, no directions are moving, and that's why you have this gridlock here behind me. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio as we look around for more folks who are leaving town.
Yeah, that is the absolute definition of gridlock that you are witnessing right now. It's what a mess, but we don't know what to tell people right now. Monitor it. We're going to get back to you, Tim, because at any given time, getting through Hollywood is tough.
Yes.
I mean, I dread it when I have to drive through that area. But boy, with the stress of this going on right now, that is a big, big problem. And by the way, the TCL Chinese Theater, we got a statement from them. They said we have closed the theater tonight, sent employees home because they're right in the thick of it as well. If you had tickets for tonight, please reach out tomorrow and we will issue a full refund. So that you're probably not going to go to the TCL Chinese Theater, but just in case, everything's been canceled. Let's go to Sophie Flay, who is standing by in Hollywood as well. Sophie?
I was just thinking the same thing, dude. The Hollywood side, right?
Yeah, David, I'm at the intersection of Hollywood and Vine on the top of a residential building, and people in this building are evacuating. As I was coming up to the roof to kind of get a better look, people were saying they had their bags in their hand. They had their pets on leashes in their hand, and they were getting ready to go. I want to show you a better look at what it looks like behind me here. Again, towards Runyon, you can see the orange glow. It's really unthinkable to see this so close to, Hollywood proper, really the city of LA, just getting closer and closer. I am near the Capitol Records building. That is, we are far away from where these flames are right now, but it's really unbelievable to see it glow. I want to tell you again the evacuation borders. The boundaries are to the west of Laurel Canyon Boulevard, to the north of Mulholland Drive, to the east of the 101 freeway, to the south of Hollywood Boulevard. And coming from Glendale, from our station in Glendale, over to this area of Hollywood, the 101 freeway was jam-packed. People are following these evacuation orders and warnings, and they're getting out of here. They're packing bags and they're heading out.
Sophie, I can hear, I know that you're on an iPhone, I believe, but you can hear the winds right where you are. How does the weather feel? I know last night you were right there on the front lines of the Eaton fire, where it was really powerful last night. But how is it feeling where you are now?
Yeah, Colleen, actually, Tim was saying earlier that it was kind of a light breeze. Up here, it is really windy. Again, it's good to see that these helicopters are out here now, hopefully getting over there to assist with this firefight, but the wind is strong up here. There's about 12 floors in this building. It's very strong.
That's one of the things that really screams at us right now is you're standing at a little bit of an elevation, but think about being up in the hills. Those winds are howling right now, and that's part of the problem. Sophie, you're doing a great job out there. Thanks for that. We're going to check back with you. We do have a Jacob on the phone with us. He is an evacuation from this Sunset Fire. And Jacob, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great. What was your experience like when you were told to evacuate, and what did you see?
I mean, I was keeping an eye on the news all day, so the moment that Hollywood was mentioned, I just ran and started packing. So I was able to get me and my cat and my partner out before the actual evacuation notice came into full effect. But yeah, I was scrambling a little.
That was very smart thinking. So where do you live in the area? You don't have to actually say your exact address, but where in the evacuation zone do you live?
I'm just outside, so by Franklin and Western. So yeah, just a little east of the 101, but close enough to where it would become gridlock if I wait too long.
I was going to say, did you experience the gridlock that's happening right now?
Oh yeah.
How did you get through it, and what did you think when you ran into the massive amount of people trying to get out?
It sucks. Yeah, I mean, the way that we were heading, I headed basically as far east or southeast that I could go and then hopped onto the 5. So most people weren't heading that way en masse. I guess just felt a little heavier traffic than usual, but there were already roads closing down. I saw that they were dealing with power lines and everything. So it seemed like I was getting out right before stuff really started to go intense.
Yeah, well, good thinking on your behalf. You know, for people who don't live in this area, can you explain the challenge for people to get down and get to an area to evacuate? Because the canyon, there's some narrow roads there.
Yeah, I mean, the roads are very small. Like you said, it's from when cars were small and then they got big and then small and then big again. And it's basically a neighborhood with almost exclusively apartment buildings of various sizes. So it's small roads and very densely populated. And it's also, you know, a major tourist spot and just major spot in Los Angeles in general. So it's already hard enough to move around as is.
Did you have a sense that this would be happening to you during this wind event
look,
for the last
look, you can see
couple
how
of
it's
days?
spraying. You see it?
I mean, I'm generally pretty anxious, so it was always in the back of my mind. But to be honest,
what I need. I need those visuals so I can understand.
I knew that even though it's much closer than I've ever seen before with all these fires, it's still, especially when I'm, you know, in the middle of Hollywood, it doesn't really feel like, oh, that it's going to happen right here until all of a sudden I go out onto the balcony and there's flames on the side of the hill.
Yeah, and so how long do you think, you know, are you preparing? Are you going to a friend's? Are you getting a hotel? What does this night look like for you?
I'm really lucky. My family lives in Long Beach, so me and my partner are just driving our way down there right now.
You're very lucky to have family in town. That's a great situation. Will you be careful? I'm glad you and your partner and your animals made it out safely. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us on the phone right now.
Yeah.
Of course, thank you.
Best of luck to you, Jacob, and thank you so much for calling us. It is incredible what we have been dealing with when it comes to these fires. The last 36 hours or so of these winds have been incredible. So let's go to Danny Romero right now to get an update, because Danny, we've been talking about this for several days now, but we were thinking that the winds would start dying down tonight. Is that holding true?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, they're certainly less than they were, you know, just like you mentioned before, howling just yesterday, 24 hours ago. Now we're kind of down, heading towards kind of the lower end of it, but we're still seeing some of those stronger pockets. They're going to have the occasional stronger gusts. So now we're seeing some single-digit readings. That's good to see. But here you go. Pacific Palisades, still at that 20-mile-per-hour range. That's going on. We're showing those areas up around Pasadena. Still, you can see the purple indicating the 40, 50-mile-per-hour winds right here. So that's still an area of concern that we're going to be really watching through the nighttime hours. Overall, we tend to see a bit of a decrease in those winds during those early morning hours. But for right now, we're seeing those winds still strong in these pockets all over Southern California. You're still going to find many areas where those winds are still going to be howling, still really causing concerns. And not so much the sustained winds, but those gusts, because those just kind of pop up and really kind of make things really grow. For example, this fire we're talking about, Hollywood, the Sunset Fire we're calling this. You know, Chris Christie found this, and it was about 10 acres when he spotted it. And last reading I saw, we already doubled that within like an hour or so. So again, those winds, north, in that profile, the Santa Ana profile, northeast winds blowing towards the south. So all that smoke heading towards this part of Hollywood. So up there in that in the hills, we're seeing that fire with some vegetation there to fuel it, to keep it going. So here's a setup now for the Hollywood area specifically. So now down to single digits here, 7 o'clock hour, staying right around that range. But here's the good sign, David Colleen. We get towards tomorrow morning drive time. Now we're down to 2-3 miles per hour. That's nice. Then we see it start to rise a bit, somewhat by midday or so towards the afternoon hours. So these winds are still not done. We're still seeing some major concerns there. As far as the Palisades fire, there too, the winds there a bit stronger. We just showed you a second ago. So here's the pattern setting up. We're going to see a little bump up here in the 20s again, 9, 10 p.m. or so. And then that decrease during those overnight hours. We head down to single digits by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning drive time. And then kind of hovering in that 5-7 mile per hour range. For the Eaton fire, same idea. For now, winds are still in that 23, 40, 24 mile per hour range through the 7 o'clock hour. But subsiding down single digits overnight, early morning hours, a bit of a bump up around sunrise into midday as well. But again, nowhere near as strong as they were over those last few days when it just really ramped up. But that said, besides those winds, the low humidities, that red flag warning is going to hold in play pretty much till Friday in all the areas you see there in the red. So a little pocket is out of that red flag warning now, but pretty much everybody else still under that red flag warning until Friday. We're looking at about 6 p.m. or so. So the conditions being the winds, the low humidities, and the temperature's not too strong during the daytime, but it's more about the humidity and the winds that are really causing this red flag warning to stay in effect here until now Friday. So we saw another day of this. The winds, again, I showed you, subsiding somewhat tomorrow, but still of concern will be those gusts that do pop up. So those are still going to be in play throughout. So that red flag going to stay in play until the end of the week. So Dave and Colleen, we're going to see it kind of stay that way, and we're going to track this through the nighttime hours, of course, all the way through, and we'll kind of watch the pattern as it subsides somewhat. And we have to watch those gusts to pop back up again.
Absolutely, Danny. Right, thank you so much. And really quickly, we want to let you know that UCLA, they're canceling classes Thursday and Friday. We're just learning that they made the decision to curtail campus operations. And if you're a graduate student, courses are going to be remote for the next 2 days. Let's go over to the Palisades fire and Michelle Fisher for the latest there. Michelle, you are sort of on the border of Malibu, Pacific Palisades, I believe.
Yeah, Colleen, well, one of the aspects of these fires as we're covering them is just some of the iconic venues and landmarks that are being threatened. Yesterday, covering the Palisades fire, we were keeping an eye on the Getty Villa, which we know now is okay today. Also, we just heard from the people with the Magic Castle for the Sunset fire. So that is certainly an aspect of this. How is this fire impacting some of the staples in our community? One of those moon shadows here along Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, unfortunately, did not make it. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what this iconic restaurant has now been reduced to, just a pile of smoldering rubble here. It once stood along Pacific Coast Highway. Now, the restaurant did post on its Instagram story today, sharing many messages from customers who shared their thoughts and their memories of the beloved beachfront restaurant. And it is just one here along Pacific Coast Highway that was lost to the Palisades fire. Also, the Real Inn and Rosenthal Wines, which was known for those oversized chairs and table that was out front of that restaurant. So Pacific Coast Highway, this coastline here with the restaurants and many homes just drastically changed forever in a very negative way as a result of the Palisades fire that we've been covering here in not only Pacific Palisades, but also in Malibu. As you mentioned, we're on the border right now. So when they say more than 1,000 structures, I think our first thought sometimes is it's homes, but this kind of points to the fact that it's also restaurants, and many of them beloved by the community. Another thing I also want to point out, especially as people are evacuating from their homes in the Hollywood area, is a reminder about looters. I think when I was last on air around 3 or so last night, my photog and I saw someone with a backpack going into a home along Pacific Coast Highway here. No one was at home at the time, obviously, because they had evacuated. The gentleman had a backpack on. He had a flashlight in his hands. And then after he left the home, he comes over and talks to us about how there were these vintage surfboards in the basement of the home that he was considering taking. He actually had the audacity to say that to us. My photog advised him that that was not a good idea to do that. And also, as I've been sitting in the news van here along Pacific Coast Highway, I got a notification from the Citizen app saying that the police had been called to a home in Pacific Palisades because someone had tried to enter a home there. So that's certainly a reality that we want to remind viewers of is, unfortunately, sometime when there are evacuations like the ones happening right now in the Hollywood area, criminals decide to go into these properties because they know that no one's going to be home, and they decide to loot and take things, which is an unfortunate reality of some of these situations. So just a reminder for those who are evacuating to lock up your properties as best you can, because people do use this as an opportunity to go in and loot and take things, and that's not what you want to come back and find. If your home is still standing, you don't want to come in and find that someone has gone inside and taken your beloved belongings, for sure. So that's the latest here along Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. I'll go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio now.
Yeah, Michelle, you make a great point. It's absolutely disgusting that these opportunists will take advantage of people who are losing so much. And part of the problem, and I'll just say this and we'll move on, at the press conference yesterday, you know, people are being told how to evacuate. Pack your bag, get out as soon as the word comes out, but leave your door unlocked.
Right.
That is because if your house is on fire, then authorities can get in there and probably save what they can, or at least fight the fire. So you're leaving your door unlocked as you leave your home vulnerable to a predator, basically, who can go in there and steal everything.
And it goes against all your instincts to leave your home unlocked. I remember last night when they said, I said, unlocked? Oh, gosh, I don't know. That would be the harder part. Leaving and evacuating is fine. Hoping that someone doesn't go and loot your home while you are evacuated is just horrible.
Disgusting.
But we do keep hearing law enforcement saying today, do not do that. And hopefully people are heeding those.
The new DA of LA, Nathan Hochman, whose sister lost her home in the fire in the Palisades, he spoke this morning to us about how he's bringing every measure of the law against these looters, who they are catching, and they will be prosecuting them. Let's stay in the Palisades right now and go to Jory Rand, who files this report.
Guys, this house is still burning. We had to move a little bit to the side because there are a series of loud explosions coming from inside that inferno of a garage. I think there's a couple vehicles in there. The gas tank might be exploding, but some of them have been extremely loud, and it is now fully engulfed. And you can see that while the front of the house, the garage is nothing but flame. If, Sean, when you pan up a little bit, we can see coming from the back, there are some really large flames burning in the rear portion of this house. And again, the major concern is just how close this home is to the home right next door, and somehow it has still survived. The trees between them, they have not gone up, and that would be catastrophe. That would be worst case scenario should those trees breaking these two houses go up in flames, because it wouldn't be long for the home that is still somehow intact after these 24 hours remains so. And down comes the eave off the front of that house. We've been waiting to see when that would happen. We could tell it was imminent. Some pieces had been falling. In fact, there's a large pile of the upper portions of this home already laying in the driveway, and another large portion has just come down, as this home is now a total loss. It's just nothing but flames, and we're actually curious whether the garage door itself is going to collapse. We think we saw it kind of come off of its frame and sit down on the driveway, and it is slowly being taken apart. And there it goes. Something inside of that caught, and it might have been some kind of gas, because we could hear it burning, see those flames explode, and that just did the last little job on the rest of that garage door. And so a lot of flame and smoke now coming out of that garage. It's just intensifying as we stand here, and you look inside, it is nothing but flame. Nothing but flame on all sides of that garage, and that's one of the explosions we were talking about. That just continues to pop inside of that garage. Just a horrific scene, and again, you know, this house is a loss, and it is heartbreaking to see this happen before our eyes. But again, there is concern, and we are focused on the house next door as well. So we've gone 24 hours since this fire decimated the Pacific Palisades community. So many homes lost, we're talking hundreds. And here you have this miracle that has stood here and fully withstood what we have seen play out here. This house is fully intact only for tonight. There is almost nothing else burning in this town actively except for this home right here, and the risk it is now imposing on the house next door. It is just almost too much to think about. But things look good. We've been watching the eaves, and they look like they're intact. Sparks and embers have been brushing up against the home, and nothing has caught as of yet. There you can see it just pushing, the force of the fires just pushing these flames, these embers right toward that home. We had a good wind for a little bit, blowing kind of west to east away from that home, and at times it shifts and goes the other way and pushes it directly into that home there. And so it's just a waiting game at this point, hoping this fire dies down enough that this home survives. You know, it's made it this long, it is still looking good, and we just keep our fingers crossed that it stays that way, because, you know, this town has seen enough loss and devastation. We need to take some wins where we get it, and we still have one here. Hopefully that remains the case when all is said and done. But this house here added to the list of just a total loss, guys.
Yeah, incredibly tragic, Jory. Thank you for that. By the way, just to clarify, that is Bester Boulevard in Palisades. That was Jory on Bester Boulevard in the Palisades, one of many, many places that have suffered some tremendous loss out there. In the meantime, I know a lot of folks usually are watching Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune right now. We want to let you know that Jeopardy will be on the air early in the morning at 2:06, followed by Wheel of Fortune at 2:36. So 2:06 and 2:36. Obviously, you can record it if you don't want to stay up that late, but we're sorry to interrupt your favorite programs, but obviously I'm sure you understand. In the meantime, we do want to get to that weather forecast. It's very, very important at this point. We need some relief, Danny.
Yeah, well, you know, we're getting there eventually. We're kind of heading that way in terms of wind velocities are starting to come down, but certainly when this thing was blowing, it was causing some serious concern. So here's kind of an idea. Here's the idea that we've been dealing with. Definitely a strong to extreme level at the peak of these winds yesterday when it was really, really strong, even today, the early hours too. So that's what we're dealing with. 40, 60, some 60, 100 mile per hour winds. We showed you some peak areas up in some mountain areas, saw some very strong 100 mile per hour winds. So this wind event has certainly been a strong to extreme wind event. That's coming our way. That's what we're dealing with here over the last few days. So now setting up for us, Hollywood. We just showed you Hollywood there a few minutes ago. Those winds, here's the good news we talked about, starting to come down somewhat. Now keep in mind, we're going to go 9 miles per hour, so down to single digits here tonight, next few hours, and then even lower still. We get towards the morning hours too, and we stay in that single digit range throughout. But those gusts, what you have to be concerned about, watching here now, give you an idea of the Hollywood fire, the Sunset Fire, they're calling this one, right there by the hills above Hollywood. Right now it winds at that northeast range, 15 miles per hour, gusts 25 miles per hour, and those gusts are the ones that really spread those embers that we showed you in Jory's shot a second ago. So we're seeing that, and we're seeing how it's kind of set up close to Hollywood Boulevard, close to Franklin Avenue. We showed you that was a major thoroughfare, especially this time of night. People trying to just move through town, very crowded. Because of that fire and evacuations near the hills around Hollywood, we're seeing now there too, the traffic just really, really building up even more so. So the red indicates a real tough drive on that 101 freeway in that Hollywood area. And certainly the surface streets also, you can see all the red indicating there. We saw that absolute traffic jam, gridlock that Tim Caputo showed just a second ago in his live shot. So it's certainly there. Now, as far as the fires, Pacific Palisades fire, still a concern because those winds in that 15, 20 mile per hour range, those gusts 30, 35 mile per hour range. So that's still in play. Again, that Santa Ana profile out of the north, northeast blowing towards the south, southwest. The Hearst fire, that's still a concern too. Those winds also, 20 mile per hour winds, and those occasional stronger gusts can still cause some major concerns in this area too. Yes, more fires to watch. We talked about the Eaton fire a little while ago. That also a concern. So the red flag warning in effect. Because the winds are still a factor, not quite as strong, certainly as yesterday this time and into the morning hours, but certainly the winds are still there, blowing as we showed you a second ago. The humidities are really, really low. So things are very, very dry. Single-digit readings there, too. So the winds up around the Pacific Palisades fire. We're going to see this. Again, these winds still in that 19, 20 mile per hour range through the nighttime hours, finally coming down early morning, 3, 4, 5 a.m., staying there until it kind of ramps back up a little bit by midday. As far as the Eaton fire profile, there, too, the winds strongest right now, 20s, 15, and then we chop it down to single digits overnight, early morning hours. And we can see how it shows up on our map, how these winds are still strong in spots, but coming down somewhat. But we're going to watch for those purple and red areas. Those are your stronger winds. Again, you can see the motion. Again, that southeast, northeast profile of that Santa Ana wind condition still running through Pasadena. Stronger winds up there to the north of that, blown towards Pasadena area. And we can see here towards Riverside, San Bernardino. Again, those winds, those pockets of 50, 40 mile per hour winds are still prevalent in the shots all over Southern California. That's why that red flag warning I showed you. Now, as far as the air quality is concerned, as you might imagine, around that fire zone, especially around Pasadena, look at that. That's unhealthful air for everybody in the red, and so that's really a concern area. So, man, as best you can, stay indoors. Don't get outside if you don't have to, and just really be wild. Now, here's what's shaping up for us. We got this reason for all these winds. That low pressure to our east and our south, right next to this ridge of high pressure, you get those gradient winds. You kind of squeeze out those winds there, and that's what really ramped things up for us here with this Santa Ana event. Although now we're on the back side of it somewhat, but still all these areas, especially you see those reds and yellows right there. You're going to see it pop up again by tomorrow low at noon, so we're not quite done with this yet, and we can see them really ramp up through the afternoon, evening hours tomorrow. So please do not get very comfortable here, because those spots, still the fire areas and all around, we can still see it being really, really strong. So here's how it's setting up now. Accurate the 7-day look. So still those winds, the fire danger there for LA Metro and Orange County through tomorrow. Temps in the 70s. We start cooling down for the weekend. A little more of an onshore flow as sea breeze comes back, so we see things kicking in. But next week, we're looking at another concern with winds and low humidities back in play. As far as our valleys,
we gotta get out of LA, nurse. The whole family. Like, we gotta move.
Where are you gonna go? Orange County?
No. I'm gonna go to Montana.
All right, crew. Are you ready? Yeah!
Can I get a chee-hoo?
Chee-hoo! Set sail for Ono Hawaiian Barbecue.
Let's go to Hawaii. They already had a fire there.
Wood Hills, so that's right in the center of your screen right there. And this one smaller, but you know, we're gonna, as we get updates on this, we know that acreage is going to grow because it's still weather-wise favorable for these fires to spread. And again, I'll reiterate, the red is the mandatory evacuation, and then yellow is an evacuation warning, which is not mandatory, but could change to mandatory evacuation orders at some point. Okay, so that's kind of like going around the map, showing you everything that's going on. I know you want to know what the wind forecast is like, so let's switch over to our weather graphics right now. We're going to talk still for several minutes about what the weather is looking like. If we can get over to weather 1. And I want to mention, first of all, that red flag warnings continue all the way into Friday. Guys, let me know if we can do that. If not, we can maybe come back. But our weather graphics here are going to show that the red flag warning continues into Friday. You'll remember that this red flag warning was initially issued as a PDS red flag warning. PDS stands for particularly dangerous situation. That part of it has expired, so it's no longer a PDS red flag warning. It's essentially a regular red flag warning, more common, you know, something more of what we're used to here as we go season by season. It's just been unusual that we happen to have 3 of these PDS red flag warnings just this season, and before this season, the last one was in 2020. Those are rare. But now we're in regular red flag warning territory. That's in effect through Friday. Winds have already started to come down today. They will continue to relax a bit overnight. I still have that wind forecast coming up. The next wind peak, by the way, is going to start ramping up midday tomorrow and lasting into Friday morning. Then we expect
I want to see like the live of it happening. You know, like this guy is cool for the info, but you also need a second monitor showing no, this guy was at the brush fire. Yeah.
Okay, you're good to go. Welcome to Frontier.
Awesome, thank you. In my lifetime, I will own...
Why would I use Kayak to compare hundreds of travel sites at once? I like to do things myself. I can't trust anything else to do the job right.
I'm too deep already.
Kayak.
I feel like I'm...
So has this neighborhood. It's been decades, and they've tried to do everything they possibly can to secure this region from a rapidly moving calamity that would be a fire like this. But again, there's nothing you can, there's really, you know, all bets are off when you have the kind of velocity that we saw last night and this morning with the wind gusts propelling the embers, advancing the flames in Eaton Canyon and the Palisades upwards to a mile downrange. So we haven't talked to anybody. I haven't seen anybody. Most have evacuated, I would think, and those who aren't evacuated are watching us and praying and hoping for the best.
All right, Conan, we have some important information we need to pass along to our viewers as we hold your shot here. We want to clarify that the boil water advisory we talked about earlier, that advisory is actually for anyone who lives in the Pacific Palisades area if your zip code is 90272. Again, that zip code 90272. The LEDWP is urging you either use bottled water or you boil your water until further notice. That is because the water pressure there continues to be so low due to the high water usage that has been being used to try to put out the Palisades fire.
Meanwhile, we continue to watch this sunset fire that broke out just before 6 o'clock tonight in the Hollywood Hills. And Jonathan, one of the things about the Hollywood Hills, Conan was mentioning the spaghetti streets, and they're so narrow. If you've driven up there, if you park your car on the side, it's really hard to get around. So this kind of area can be really tough for firefighters. But what I found fascinating is that the people who live there apparently train with the fire department, and they have a plan in place so that you know what to do, so you know to talk to neighbors. And it's really good because before a fire hits and strikes is when you really want to be prepared. Once it happens, it's almost too late. I mean, you need to have your stuff ready. And if you're leaving beyond evacuation orders, if they tell you to get out and you don't go then, you're just causing a problem for firefighters at that point. So they really want you to adhere to those precautions. I love that they train with the residents there.
And one big concern among residents, I know in the Runyon Canyon area, Kathy, is that they always have concerns with how many visitors visit these parks that are in the canyon, especially Runyon Canyon Park. A lot of people park their cars, and they're concerned for this reason, because if there is a fire that breaks out, do the firefighters have enough space to drive their giant apparatus, those fire trucks, the fire engines, up into the canyon successfully to get to where these fires are going? They have red flag days on days like yesterday, days like today, where they don't allow parking for this very reason, so that people can the firefighters can get up into the canyon areas, these narrow streets, many of them one way in, one way out. And so, thankfully, if people are, heeding the warnings and they're heeding those red flag violations, they're not, parking their cars in certain places. We saw a lot of people trying to get out. That is why we see a lot of traffic along Franklin and Hollywood Boulevard, two major thoroughfares in that area that are impacted by all those people trying to get out as soon as possible. Right now, we want to get over to meteorologist David Bigger, our Robert Kovacic, live in Hollywood Hills now. He's just arrived with the latest on the Sunset Fire. And Robert, we also understand, this is the area that you call home.
Right now is that we are at the entrance to Runyon Canyon. If you live in this neighborhood, and if you know this neighborhood, if you've used Runyon Canyon, this is Runyon and Mulholland. Yeah. This is Debbie. Debbie, it's good to see you. You too. Tell me from your perspective, when you first got aware of this fire, was it an emergency alert? Did you smell the smoke? Did you see the flames?
We got like so many emergency alerts, which has kind of made us really paranoid, because we're like right at Mulholland, like near Laurel, and it's like, you got to evacuate. And we're like, I don't know. So that's why I came up here to see, because we got scared. We didn't know. We didn't smell anything. Right. But everyone kept saying, evacuate, evacuate, so.
But you're here.
I'm here, yeah, because I cover stuff on my page.
So you're looking here, but
so I'm live on my, yeah.
Are you ready to go if need be, Debbie?
Oh, yeah. I've already packed a bag, and I have my cat and my son. We've already packed. So I said, I'm just going to see if I can see the fire, because if it's close enough, then we probably should get out of it. We should evacuate.
Are you like me, thinking that, it hit another neighborhood, ours is probably going to get spared with this round of winds, or were you ready and on standby to go at any time?
No, I wasn't ready on standby. Yeah. And I kind of said to my son, I'm like, maybe we should just pack a bag just in case. And then all of a sudden he's like, Mom, I think we should pack a bag now. And I was like, oh my God.
What did he say about it?
That sounded fairly promising.
Oh, that's good.
Again, now we were listening to the person in the helicopter describe the fire. But they really seem to be doing a bunch of drops right around.
Yeah, now they're working on the bottom.
With Evernote, this year you can work better. Easily collaborate with your team to deliver great results. Work faster.
I feel like they should have worked on it in the beginning. There's more people down there.
continues to spread to the west. In the meantime, we're more focused at the moment to the south as the fire, the leading edge of this fire, is continuing to create spot fires, albeit not at the same pace as it was about an hour ago. I'm losing track of time, but you can see that the forward progress is slowing. It has not stopped. There are new fires starting as we speak. In fact, that patch of trees right there near the bottom of your screen, that's a brand new fire, and it is even closer to Vista Street and closer to Franklin Avenue. However, if you look at this shot, the winds have slowed down ever so slightly. You can see the smoke blowing, but not exactly at the same clip as a little bit earlier, and maybe that is helping out the situation quite a bit. But in the meantime, it is still spotting, it is still blowing. They are still dropping water on this fire, trying to cut it off at the pass, essentially. But this entire neighborhood still should be leaving right now. I think the concern is very much alive. However, the forward progress is slowing. They have dropped a lot of water on the fire, but that leading edge, that group of flames right there, is very unpredictable and is still at risk of spreading throughout this neighborhood, potentially. But don't take any chances. Definitely heed the warnings. All right. Another flare up. Just keep the camera on as we fly away. We're leaving now. Yep, I see that. That's a palm tree. Ten-4. Yep. Look at that. That's definitely flaring, right? Really? Really? Can we kind of cut it off just to kind of take a peek on the way home?
When I came to Notre Dame, I wanted to be a part of something more than just business as usual.
I know a thing or two about tradition.
I know a thing or two about technology.
Always grocery shop on Sunday.
Meal prep delivery is the way to go.
My mobile deposit just went through.
Mine too.
F&M Bank.
Perfect. Can you? Okay, so what streets are those? Right there. Fire roads, hiking trails, no houses. Okay. All right, we're good. Ooh, look at that. You're right. Look at that.
Palisades. Outmanned and in some cases out of
Your barber Gus works great, but he doesn't work like Wealthfront. Wealthfront keeps your investments working, optimizing them.
19 acres have burned, and it is right in the center of that densely populated location. And this is yet another one that is taking place here. So let's take a look at this. 7 wildfires now wildfires are burning in Los Angeles County, including the Pacific Palisades and the Silmar neighborhoods of Los Angeles, and another near the city of Pasadena. Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire and the Hearst Fire, the Olivius Fire and the Lydia Fire and the Woodley Fire are all raging as of Wednesday, according to Cal Fire. So Los Angeles, everywhere, it is spreading. Fire is going on everywhere. The Guardian One, thank you for the $100 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for your generosity. Good work. Hi, everyone. You are very welcome. Thank you for the kind words and the generosity. I will continue to keep you up to speed on everything as we're getting the breaking news of yet another fire hitting right now in California. It says the newest fire is the Sunset Fire, which is near Hollywood Hills. Hundreds of thousands of residents are under evacuation orders as the LA area wildfires threaten at least 28,000 structures. More than 3 million were without power in Los Angeles County by Wednesday afternoon, according to Southern California Edison, or the SCE. The fires are being pushed by Santa Ana winds from the east, and officials warn the worst is yet to come. Wow. They're saying that this is going to intensify. Absolutely just shocking. Right now, what we're seeing is devastating, and they're saying the worst is yet to come. It is on the way, and I guess that makes sense as they have announced that there is 0% containment right now on these fires. Now, breaking news coming out 22 minutes ago. It says, new fire breaks out in the Hollywood Hills. A new fire broke out in the Hollywood Hills area of Los Angeles on Wednesday, prompting a mandatory evacuation order. The fire was reported in the vicinity of Runyon County. Mandatory evacuations have been issued from Laurel Canyon Boulevard on the west to Mulholland Drive on the north to 101 Freeway on the east, down to Hollywood Boulevard on the south. The Los Angeles Fire Department has said the blaze, which has been named the Sunset Fire, was 20 acres, according to CAL FIRE. Hollywood Hills includes several popular attractions, including the Hollywood Sign, the Hollywood Reservoir, the Griffith Park, home of the Griffith Observatory. And it says 10 minutes ago, Biden has now canceled his trip to Italy to focus on the Los Angeles wildfires. And there you can see Joe Biden, and earlier today he was with Gavin Newsom. This picture says President of the United States Joe Biden, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and the United States Senator Alex Padilla on the left attend a briefing on the recent fires at Santa Monica Fire Station number 5 on Wednesday, January the 8th, 2025. And I shared that video footage with you earlier today as they received those updates as to what was going on in the state of California. President Biden will no longer travel to Italy and will instead remain in Washington to focus on directing the full federal response to the California wildfires. After returning this evening from Los Angeles, where earlier today he had met with police, fire, and emergency personnel fighting this historic fire that is raging in areas and approved a major disaster declaration for California, President Biden made the decision to cancel his upcoming trip to Italy to remain focused on directing the full federal response in the days ahead. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in a statement late on Wednesday today, Brian Jones, thank you for the $2 super chat. It is all part of the plan. International 100, he says. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I will continue to keep you up to date, and you are not the only one that is thinking that there is something strange here going on. Earlier, I was doing a poll asking for people to drop ones in the chats if they thought that something nefarious was going on, if somebody was lighting these fires. We even heard someone suggest maybe this is an attack against the United States. Let me know your thoughts. But if you think no, it's just really strong winds. We've heard a lot of people say they've never seen it like this before, and this is natural fires that are being lit. Put a 2 in the comments. Now, reading on, it also says the trip was meant to be Biden's final foreign visit of his presidency. He was set to meet with Pope Francis and the Italian President Sergio Mattarella and the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni during the 3-day trip to Rome. Also, UCLA 21 minutes ago has canceled classes for the rest of the week. Citing the devastating wildfires burning across Los Angeles County, UCLA has canceled undergraduate classes for Thursday and for Friday as well. In a message, UCLA Chancellor Julio Frank said that the school recognizes the anguish and the anxiety that the fires have created within the campus community. After careful consideration, we have made the decision to curtail campus operations, cancel undergraduate classes, and move graduate courses to remote instruction for the next 2 days, Thursday, January the 9th, and Friday, January the 10th, Frank said. While there remains no immediate fire danger to our campus, given an expected change in the wind patterns in the hours ahead, it is likely that the air quality in Westwood will worsen. So I'm still seeing those ones pouring in. Also, do me a favor, if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit the like button. Just helps spread this out further. I know that nobody likes getting this information, but it just helps so more people can get the latest info across the YouTube platform. Employees who work remotely were told to coordinate with their supervisors. In addition to undergrad classes, pre-K-12 programs at the Geffen Academy, the UCLA Lab School, and Early Care and Education will be closed both on Thursday and Friday as well. 45 minutes ago, harrowing photo shows fire ripping through Altadena School auditorium amid California wildfires. A heart-stopping photograph shows a firefighter opening the door of a burning auditorium of a California school on Wednesday. The photo was taken at Elliott Arts Magnet Middle School in the Altadena area of Los Angeles County. The firefighter was seen adjusting his mask as the fire tore through the school's auditorium. A poster reading, "You are someone's reason to smile," was plastered on one of the auditorium doors. Altadena is being impacted by the ongoing Eaton fire, one of 7 fires that CAL FIRE identified as of Wednesday evening. And this coming out 1 hour ago. Actor James Woods recalls the chaotic moment as the Palisades fire gained momentum. Now, this goes back past the start of the Hollywood Hills fire. The Hollywood Hills fire, we're hearing, has started within just about the past hour or so. So this is like new incoming information regarding what is taking place here. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if I refresh this, if there are any new updates on this at all. Biden cancels his trip to Italy. No, it looks like there is no new info regarding the Hollywood Hills fire that is currently raging right now. Now, also, I'm going to take a look at the feeds, but let me see if I go back to this one. Oh, they are reporting on it. We've got some live reporting on this right now. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what they're reporting on Fox Now Live.
If we take this picture full, some Skyfox, this is the process of a filling up for a water drop. So we see right there the plane or helicopter, hard to tell because it's pretty dark, getting the water there, and then is going to move towards the fire. So this is the good news, because we didn't have this last night, and we really needed it last night. It is allowing them to make some progress on the Hollywood fire, the Sunset Fire. We do see it burning, but we don't see like what we saw last night, which just things just exploded, completely out of control. It looks like they are making some progress on this thing, and hopefully we are going to see this thing put out before any structures are burned. This is a very different picture than what we saw last night, and is good to see, frankly, that the picture is a lot better than it was an hour ago.
We are awaiting to get a couple of interviews on our air, just so you know. LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley will be joining us soon, live on the air alongside LA City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. She will be joining the LA.
All right, we certainly appreciate our partners there at Fox 11 in Los Angeles. We do have to step away for our final 2-minute break of the hour, but stay right here with us. On the other side, our coverage of these devastating wildfires in Southern California. Continue.
So there you have it, you guys. So they are doing live coverage on what is going on right now. And as I mentioned, this is happening just recently. This is a new fire that is hitting. And so for those of you that are just joining in, I'm going to go ahead and play some of the recaps. There are just like short 2-minute videos that have come out in just the past hour, so that way you can see it for yourself, as this is a brand new fire that is taking place. Now, while these are going to be playing, I'm going to look and see if there are any new updates on the feeds, as they are saying that this is hitting Hollywood, the Hollywood Hills. People asking, is the Hollywood Hills sign on fire? I believe so. Let me double check, but I want to say they said that it already hit that hill. But let's go ahead and take a look at this so that way you can see it.
And yet, right now, what you're seeing on the side of your screen there, that is something that we hate to report. Those fire crews are trying to attack that fire while, as we all know, fire crews have been stretched thin. There are hundreds of firefighters that are out there in Altadena that have been working nonstop here in the Pacific Palisades, hundreds more that are still doing structure protection as we speak. And right there, the numbers are a little bit squishy at this point, but they're thinking about 10 acres. We have seen some water drops, which is so fortunate. That means that the winds have died down enough for air attack to come in and to make those